I made this sneaker to signal to everyone that like this is like the craziest thing that you could put on your foot.
Got a special guest today, my man, John Buscemi. John is a trendsetter, multiple brand builder, and knows the cool factor.
I'm pacing in 2010 in the Louboutin store with my wife is shopping, and I'm like, I'm a sneaker person. So I'm looking on the bottom row, there's 400 shoes on the wall for women, and there's one men's shoe, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I didn't just see a sneaker, I saw like a business, like on a one shelf in a sneaker store. I got hired at DC Shoes as a trend forecaster and got shot out of a cannon. I feel like the trend is whatever you're doing, like if you work out and you're into health and wellness, you're gonna wear Viore, Lululemon, and this all day. Social media, I feel like kind of killed the discovery aspect of fashion because everyone's looking at the same thing. You'll see multiple members only fashion brands in the next 5 to 10 years. I think that's where it's going.
All right, welcome to the Operators Podcast. We've got a great episode for you today. It is brought to you, as always, by our great sponsors, Fulfill, Northbeam, Postscript, Richpanel, and Saras. Let's get after it.
Fulfill ad alert, everybody. Fulfill X Claude just dropped. There is now a chat function in Fulfill where you can get GPT answers to all of your top questions. Do you want to know Q4 forecast? Do you want to know your balance sheet? Do you want to know where customers are shopping across the US? Ask questions in native language and get answers right back to you in Fulfill. Jason's using it right now. Jason, how are you using it?
Well, our team is just always dying to get information quicker. We have so much of our business that's run on Fulfill. So instead of having to like dig through stuff, dig through spreadsheets, et cetera, just to be able to have things built on the fly really fast. I'm all about speed of execution and communication, and this is just going to help speed everything up for us. I'm really stoked about it.
Sharoon, the CEO of Fulfill, sent me an email and he's like, hey, here is your Q4 day-by-day order projections, and here's the best bundles you should have on your website. I didn't have to do any work. That's pulled straight from Claude in 2 questions. And now anyone using Fulfill can look like a genius and get answers immediately. So this is the future. This is where everything's going. You need to have all of your information in one place. Then you can put AI on top of it. We're using Fulfill for that. Fulfill's using Claude or Grok or ChatGPT. They can plug in any AI tool you want. You can get all of your Fulfill information with simple native language prompting that you're used to, like a ChatGPT or anything else. We can ask in one sentence, build a heat map of where our customers are in the US by state based on revenue. Show me where customers who brought product A and returned product B and what the LTV pattern there. You could break down fulfillment costs by carrier, by region, by product for all orders or just orders for that are over $150. Any sort of segmentation you want is available with this because all of your data is in Fulfill and you can access it with Claude with native language. It is what is happening in the future. We are at the point where AI tools are plugging into your data via an ERP like Fulfill. We're getting a lot of value out of this. Jason's getting a lot of value out of this. Check it out today. Go to fulfill.io/operators. Thank you, Fulfill, for supporting this awesome podcast.
Welcome to the Operators Podcast, everybody. We've got a special guest today, my man, John Buscemi. John is a trendsetter, multiple brand builder, and is like one of these guys that's just connected to everybody and knows the cool factor. And I don't think a lot of our listeners know John because they're probably not cool enough to know John. But I think, Sean, you know John.
You know, I know of John. John, we've never talked, but about 10 years ago, I was selling some of your sneakers online. Performance marketing agency Hawk Media.
Oh,
we were not doing a very good job, but we did sell a couple. I remember there was a Mastermind Japan drop that just went crazy. So
yeah, that was great. Well, it's good to see you again. I remember Hawk. I do remember a lackluster job at a Hawk though too.
Yeah. Look, I was young, didn't know what I was doing.
I don't remember that. I'm kidding. Those were kind of like the really beginning of the performance marketing days. You don't know, you were throwing things against the wall. Spaghetti wasn't sticking every time.
Yeah, and the audience, to Jason's point, probably doesn't know the brand and why it might be challenging for performance marketing. So maybe from your own words, what was Buscemi and what are you up to now?
Buscemi, I mean, it's a very long story. I'm going to start somewhere in the middle. I was always into sneakers, since third or fourth grade, when the Jordans first came out, the Jordan 1 in 1985, and kind of got bit by that sneaker bug and started, a career, my career in the sneaker business started in fourth or fifth grade collecting sneakers. And then I got my first job at DC Shoes, this action sports company, skate shoe company, in 2001. Got bored pretty quickly and moved up to LA. Started Buscemi a couple of years later in 2011. It was really an art project. It wasn't. I didn't start out to start a global sneaker brand. It was really a brand made for the best looking guy in your neighborhood, the coolest guy in your neighborhood. I made 3 or 4 products for him. I made a shoe, a bag. I actually made a dog leash, which was made in Italy with a clasp, a gold plated clasp. And I made a Java jacket, the finest one in the world. And this sneaker that was inspired by a very famous handbag. And went to Paris for Fashion Week, and I set up this little showroom, and some of the coolest buyers in the world came, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, still
that's a very short story, the short version. So
no, I'm glad you started in the middle, and the middle was when you were in 5th grade or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, very, very iconic brand. And one of the reasons why I think it would be challenging for digital marketing is the price point. Right? That was my first time trying to sell something $1,000 on the internet, and trying to find new buyers with that. Right. So that's probably why I sucked at digital marketing back then. But I think we got a lot of stuff to cover. So take it away, Jason.
Well, I just I was excited to have John on because selfishly, I'm glad I got to know John because at Hexclad, we've always had this mantra of not only building a best in class consumer brand, but like bringing the cool factor, like the cool cookware. I think we managed to achieve that over the years, but we're always looking for ways to level that up. And so I think, everyone could benefit from John's like trend seeing type of mentality, as well as just like the way John feels about brands, so why don't you, John, you started out like that was your first job, wasn't it? Around trends. Why don't you tell us about that and how you look at trends and how, because I think our audience could benefit from, just actually thinking about it more, right? As opposed to just being in the, being in the trenches all the time, like taking it up to a little bit higher level about your brand, because people love to talk about performance marketing and people love to talk about brand. And we talk about a lot of performance marketing on this show. And I think it'd be nice to hit more on brand.
Yeah, I think, I think it goes back to, I always go back to those elementary school days. Not only was I collecting sneakers, but we were customizing apparel. We saw trend because I got lucky. I was like forced to see trends because I grew up in a suburb of Long Island, which was multicultural, nationality place in Long Island in Uniondale and East Meadow, where Black and Latino families from Brooklyn and Queens who actually made it, out of like whatever their situation was, and coming to Long Island to kind of settle, they had real jobs, and like even just like the Irish and the Italian kids on my block, the Puerto Rican kids, the Jamaican kids, everyone was together, and hip hop culture hit us all at the same time. And I was just this kind of kid, listening to Red Alert on the radio and watching like every year, kids would move into our neighborhood, and I just got like, I absorbed all that trend essentially. And I think that kind of hit me early. And then throughout my life, I think that gave me, maybe it's in my DNA, but I think it was more taught. I was always looking for like the next thing. I always had my hands on the window of, Hirschleifers and Manhasset and, the Gucci store and, the Ralph Lauren store opened in Long Island in Manhasset. And these brands, these iconic brands, we just were, I think it's really the trend seeing really comes from my aspirations, right? And I always wanted the finer things in life early. And then when I started my brand, I tell this story all the time. There's a guy named Christian Louboutin who opened a store, French guy, back, in 2010 and 11, no one really knew who he was except for a few ladies. He opened a store in Robertson in Los Angeles. And I'm there. I remember, forget it. I'm on my BlackBerry. Remember that? I'm like,
Sean, were you alive when Blackberries were around?
Do you know what a BlackBerry is, Sean?
Yeah. I know very famously Hillary Clinton used one. That's all I really know about it.
Well, it's
Pre-iPhone.
funny. BlackBerry was iPhone 1 is 2008, but I held on till 2011, like a lot of us did. Like some people I think I had the iPhone, but I held on to my BlackBerry. Anyway, I'll never forget it. I'm pacing in 2010 in the Louboutin store with my wife is shopping, and I'm like, I'm a sneaker person. I probably have the most sneakers out of the top 20 people in the United States. I probably had the most sneakers at the time, meaningful sneakers, very sick in the head sneaker collector. Anyway, and also, been in the sneaker business for a few years. So I'm looking on the bottom row of the Christian Louboutin store. There's 400 shoes on the wall for women, and there's one men's shoe, and I'm like, what is that? So I pick it up. It's a black Chukka boot, men's Christian Louboutin shoe. It's $900. Has the red bottom. It's made of beautiful leather, hand painted edges, wax cotton laces. It was it's like one of those moments in your life where you didn't think something was possible became a reality. And I just kind of my whole thought process flipped. I mean, Gucci and Louis Vuitton and all these brands have had sneakers in the past, athletic flips on sneakers. Prada had the America's Cup sneaker. I don't know if you remember that. It was a shoe for sailing. But this one was it just spoke to me. And I, went back and kind of that kind of set me on a different course. And I didn't just see a sneaker. I saw a business on one shelf in a sneaker store, and I went after it, and it worked. So that's a trend forecasting story from my life,
Yeah. I mean, perfect. Because you can read trends, I think it was the perfect timing for that. It was
right.
Urban culture was becoming super, super mainstream. Sneakerhead culture was becoming a thing for the first time in 2010. And then also you have this big boom of luxury, right? So
exactly.
With the premium price points, you can get premium materials. You can do something different. And I watched that become very much a cultural icon from 2014 to 2018. But even earlier, let's talk about your days at DC Shoes. 2001 was also the heyday of skateboarding, right? That was when Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was coming out, right? So you said you got bored there. What made you bored in the action sports world?
At DC Shoes, my previous career, I worked on Wall Street for 4.5 years to fuel my fashion and lifestyle, my habits. I made a bunch of money early in my 20s, and I got burnt out a bit. Tech bubble 1 crash, lost my book of business. But I had this massive sneaker collection. So I got hired at DC Shoes as a trend forecaster and got shot out of a cannon. I'm living in La Costa. I go from New York City, Upper East Side, to La Costa, California, and Ken and Damon were great. They weren't always around. I worked in a little office. Guys are throwing wetsuits over the railing at lunch. I'm like a fish out of water. I'm wearing Supreme and 7 jeans and rare Japanese sneakers and London Air Force Ones. And I'm just in these meetings, and I'm a New Yorker too. So I'm opinionated. I'm a fish out of water. So we're in a design, I'll never forget the first design meeting I'm in. I'm they're asking me my opinion. I'm I can't understand why you designed that. I'm giving my honest opinion. And I said, why don't we do this? I learned early on, my parents and teachers, you can't just shit on something without giving a solution or an idea.
John, I love that. I love that.
What I mean? I learned that early as a kid.
Yeah, how many times do people love to bring in, this is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. But they don't bring an answer with them. So, thank you, Captain Obvious, but like, bring the answer.
I hate people like that, really. And I learned that early, and it's almost like my superpower where I'll come and like punch someone in the face, right? Not physically, but I know I have the solution after it. So it's kind of like it makes my answer to the question a little bit more juicy. So I learned that early. So I essentially I made an impact at DC because I gave them the trend forecasting was really a true story of what was happening in New York City and globally in the sneaker world, where they were just like focused in on core skateboarding and what was happening in like the mall in San Diego, So it was like a catalyst for me and for their brand. We went on to create, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and on a few lifestyle shoes and myself and a few team members. DC went like that. I'm not saying it was me. It was a whole host of characters. They hired this guy, Mark Woolsey, and Nick Adcock, the CEO from Australia. Like, we all kind of got behind this, future, look of DC. And now DC is not even really a skate shoe. We made it a kind of a global action sports brand. It wasn't just like core skateboarding. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. I don't know if I'm answering the question.
Operators, Black Friday, Cyber Monday is coming up. Is your SMS list ready? If not, get on Postscript. They are helping us drive 14% more email signups through their better opt-ins. They're helping us get 6% more SMS subs every single day because they have perfected the art of pop-ups. You need to build your list. You have to nurture your list. You have to take care of your list. Postscript is the best at that. They're the number one name in SMS. It's their number one revenue driver. We are excited and ready to take advantage of all of the lists we've built all year, okay? Postscript has the best opt-in of all time. It is single sign-in, password autofill right on your phone, and we're going to get probably another 100,000 people to sign up between now and the end of the year. We're going to use those people. We're going to use SMS to nurture them through the funnel. It's an amazing tool. I love it. Make sure you're ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Postscript is here to help guide you through everything that you need when it comes to SMS. More opt-ins, more list building. Make sure you don't look like an amateur this BFCM. Use Postscript. Tell them Sean sent you. Tell them the operator sent you. Postscript will audit your SMS program for free and show you how to scale fast before Black Friday, Cyber Monday hits. When we talk about list growth, that's what you have to use before, during, and after Black Friday. You want serious gains. You want Postscript. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for being here. To go back to that moment, like 2001 working there and riding that peak up.
Oh, how I got bored. That's what you were asking, yeah.
Yeah, because like 2001 to 2004 was really on top of the world. There probably wasn't a cooler place to work in, action sports for sure, but also probably American fashion at that time. They really went from selling $50 million worth of shoes to $500 million worth of shoes in like
exactly
3
right.
years.
It was wild.
Yeah. And then you got bored. You're like, I've done it too much. I'm going to do something else. So what was the next move?
It's also like, I don't really talk about this much, but I was an entrepreneur as a child. I went to work on Wall Street. You're actually an entrepreneur because you have your own book of business, even though you're working for this big firm. Then I get my first job, which Jason's right. It's like my first job's like, here's your $55,000 a year, your laptop, your American Express Gold card, and like, go do your thing. And then like a year and a half in, you create a shoe with your team that does like $50 million in revenue, which is like almost 50% more than I was in tune with all this stuff. I saw what was happening and I'm like, oh, here's your 10% raise. It was like, no.
Yeah.
My entrepreneur, I saw that, I can create things, now it's time it's like it's John's time. So I kind of got bored and I saw like the entrepreneur, like spirit came out of me hard when I saw the effects of helping this massive company make a lot of money. Basically, I think that's really what happened.
Dude, I think we've all been there. I also just want to circle back to being a trend forecaster. You dropped wearing Supreme in 2001. That probably people don't realize how early that is, right? Supreme's started in the early 90s.
94, yeah.
Yeah, it became a cultural icon in like 2012, right? So wearing it in 2001, that is being so far ahead of the trend. And I guess we probably transition to today. Like, what are the trends people need to be watching out for, right? You nailed sneaker culture. You were really early to like, urban and skate culture. What's coming or what's around right now, and what are you excited about?
I'm excited. I feel like the fashion business, from a whole, from what I've seen, and I haven't paid that much attention to it over the past 3 or 4 years, but I have a 17-year-old son, so I can kind of see that fashion is really kind of like has stopped, in my opinion. Like fashion has gone, I feel like things have gone a bit like, it's almost like tribal. Like the human being has like kind of like picked like their fashion sides where, most, 20, I don't care what race you are, 20-year-old men to 40-year-old men are going towards like very traditional, bland, the bonobosing of the world, right? Then you see like my son who's 17, who used to skateboard. He plays golf. They're into like fashion that was very popular when my brand was out, like Marni and Balenciaga and Chrome Hearts, and these brands are just kind of like stuck in this world. And then I feel like I'm excited about kind of like cultural fashion, where I'm in the golf world. I feel like golf's a culture. I care about golf. I want to signal to the entire world from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. that I'm a golfer. I feel like the trend is whatever you're doing, like if you work out and you're into health and wellness, you're going to wear Viore, Lululemon, and this all day. I was just in New York for a week. It's hysterical. I stayed at the Yale Club. The button-down shirt and Patagonia vest, like Tribe, is getting bigger. Like I thought that was going to go away. Like hedge fund bro.
That's Wall Street. Yeah.
Wall Street bro is
yeah. Patagonia. I thought Patagonia
they're
threatened
everywhere.
to pull them.
Midtown, downtown, uptown. Patagonia vest army. Crazy.
I thought they threatened to pull it from Finance Bros, though. What happened? They still managed to get their hands on it.
I started to realize, I was like, I wanted to figure out why they do that. They're in these boardrooms it's cold. It's really functional.
Yeah, man, and you don't want your pits to sweat.
Yeah, that's what it is. Stay warm. Keep the core warm. Let the arms move around. That's what it is, really. So that's where I think the world is. Like trend is almost kind of gone in a way, like in a kind of weird way. It's this tiny fashion business. Like nobody cares. I mean, I don't know who the mainstream doesn't care about fashion anymore. I don't think as much as it used to be, where we saw all these things come into our lives: action sports, streetwear. It's all kind of like it's been there, done that.
Sean's like under the radar, very fashion trendy, right, Sean?
Well, I see that North Face like limited edition T-shirt, which has been signaling something to me all this whole time.
No, look, the reason why I love this episode is I secretly like I love fashion, right? Very similar growing up. I found a bunch of brands that I thought could really express myself through, and
right.
I found it as like a form of art that I really, really love. But I think you're totally right, dude. Like fashion as a monoculture is totally dead. I always bring this up that like when you were coming up 2010, that was probably like the last time where you could actually get a wholesale order written that could change your life. That doesn't exist anymore. Like
exactly. I think very small. My son schools me on this stuff. He's like, Willie Chiavara from New York and this brand and this brand. I'm like, so I'm actually getting older. There are some of these brands, but also then I go look on the Vogue runway and see what they've done. It's like this is not where it used to be. It's not like groundbreaking anymore,
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, like Buscemi in 2010 could probably get $1 million PO written, like at that very first Paris runway. Like you're in your little showroom, you could get $1 million PO from a Saks or whatever, and like that doesn't exist
anymore.
I
was saying this, like
even
back then more. Yeah. Crazy.
And now Saks doesn't pay people, right? It's very famously that they're not paying their invoices, right? Nordstrom's is a shell of its former business. I think fashion, that old world that like, we grew up in is probably just gone, right? So now
Yeah.
there are cool new designers, but they have to do their own thing, right? That's where digital
Exactly. I
marketing.
see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. It's still, I think there's still, the broken arms of the world, the Dover Street markets, I think even Ronnie at Kith still introduces some new brands here and there, but it's such a subculture of, and I always say this, through social media, everyone's seeing the same, Zyre golf in the morning, the same page 6, the same, everyone's like looking at the same thing all day. The same meme gets shared. I think these kids are all looking at the same brands. So it's like social media, I feel like kind of killed the discovery aspect of like fashion as well, because everyone's looking at the same things, and all those cool things maybe that are happening are just on the bottom. Like you can't see it unless you're like in Paris or you're in New York and like this one store in the basement, like you see the new brand, it's kind of, and even like every girl wants to be in St. Bart's or in Aspen, and every guy needs a Rolex, Hulk, and I need the new, it's like everyone's just like getting funneled into, I think it's good in some ways, but from a fashion perspective, it's like, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, everything gets bland, right?
Yeah.
It's very hard to have that exciting new moment. But let's go back to, I think your core thesis is fashion as like tribe signaling. I think that's super right. I think
right.
like it's all about micro communities. It's all about being incredibly niche.
That's right.
You talk about, Ronnie and Kith. Yeah, Kith, when you wear Kith, it signals like, hey, I'm in the know about this one particular thing. I really care about New York. I care about this like one type of culture. When it's like, it's probably like what action sports was in like the late 80s. You know what I mean? Action sports came on to become this massive thing across the whole country, across the whole world. It's just, I don't think we're ever going to have that again. We're never going to have a new Ralph Lauren. It's going to be, great brands doing $100 million a year, but it's really for that community. I think that's super right. And I believe your new stuff, you focus on golf. That's the community you found. That's who you want to serve.
That's
so
right.
Maybe why golf? Why from action sports to streetwear to sneakerhead to golf? Why is golf the next logical move?
So I played golf in PE in high school. That's where I picked up a golf club. It's funny. I went to a Catholic high school in Long Island, and they had like 7 irons and pitching wedges on mats on our football field. Like it was ridiculous, but it's funny. It got me hooked. That summer, I remember I was lacrosse and skateboarding like religiously. I played lacrosse since I was 0, started skateboarding when I was 13. But golf was kind of this fun thing. You do it, you go to the Muni, the pitch and putt. And the one thing I always loved about golf, though, was like we'd always dress up. Like even at 15 or 16, it's like, we're going to go golf. It's like, where's my granddad's like derby hat? And like, we're going to put on like a polo shirt and tuck it in. I just always thought that was like charming. I think that stuck with me. Then fast forward, I moved to La Costa. I'm in San Diego. Long distance relationship with my wife, back then my girlfriend, and like on the weekends I was like, what am I doing out here? My friend Lee DuPont, I'll never forget, he's like, why don't you just come golf with us on the weekend? Started to play a little bit, and then really came when I sold my business to private equity, the Buscemi business, in 2017. My friend Steve Malbin, who owns Malbin Golf, he moved to California like 6 or 7 years earlier. He has an advertising business. He joined a golf club, and he was a big golfer since he was like 5 years old. He's like, what do you do every day? I'm like, I drop my kid off at school. I go to the office. I go to lunch. He's like, you got to come golf with us. You golf, right? I'm like, I guess. I was never really great. Went to this place called Braemar. I made a birdie. I'll never forget it. And I got hooked. 2017, I was like, hook, line, and sinker. Joined Wilshire Country Club, and now I'm in, right? I'm like, who I am as a person. I'm like, I think I'm always trying to solve for stuff. I'm seeing white spaces. I'm like always questioning, like, why is this guy so well dressed? He's like the most well-dressed guy in my golf club, goes into his locker, puts on a costume of like Adidas, terrible shorts, terrible shoes. I'm like, what happened to you? So I was like, it was like light bulbs are going off every day. And I think what really happened was FootJoy invited me to design kind of this premium guest designer program, me and Todd Schneider and a few other designers. And that like really kind of like hooked me into the golf world. And I said, I need to come back in here. And I wasn't really making anything for years. And I love making stuff. I think what gets me off the most is getting a sample in a box from Italy and looking at it. I'm like, those moments are, the money's great, the fame, the all this stuff is great. But what I really love is like the making stuff part. So that's kind of what brought me back into the golf world. Then just the pageantry of golf, the history of golf, the fashion side of golf, and how it's really the only sport in the world where fashion is a factor. I mean, basketball, you can walk in through the runway in the morning, before the game. I guess that's a factor, but like you can play golf in anything, which is very fun for me. It's like a great playing field for me.
Yeah. And I really do think we're seeing, because there's so much lack of like a homogenous culture in America, it's like you bring up the Jordan sneaker and it's like, look, there's some great sneakers coming out right now, but it's like basketball is more and more for basketball fans, right? Like,
right.
It is not this like, baseball is the same thing. It's like these groups of people are just being like, it's smaller and more niche and hyper focused. I think golf's the perfect thing to be focused on. And we watch brands really explode focusing on CrossFit or whatever else. So I do think the future is just serving a niche community a lot. I think golf will continue to be a great community for that.
Okay, I got to take a break and tell you a quick story from a few weeks ago. We were at E-commerce Fuel Live. This is Andrew's live event that he does once a year. It's like 200 brands. They do a great job. And this story is just, it's too good not to share. So like, bear with me while I tell it. And I'm at the opening night party. I'm talking with Amit, CEO of Richpanel, and one of the great sponsors of this podcast. And Amit and I are having a good chat. And beside me walks in Katie to say hi to Amit. And Amit looks up, and I swear to God, this is true. He goes, "Hey, Matt, is this your EA?" And before I could react, Katie absolutely tears him a new one and says, "I am not Matt's EA. Matt is my EA." So if you ever wanted a lesson in how to stick your foot firmly in your own mouth, this is it. Amit could not catch a break the rest of this event, deservedly so, right? And by the end of it, I think she actually said, "I will never switch to Richpanel unless you give me a 100% discount." Now, I know this is a strange sponsor read, but I just needed to tell the story because I think it's kind of funny. So I don't think Katie's going to get a 100% discount, but honestly, I don't think you need it. Switching to Richpanel is going to pay for itself anyway. They are genuinely one of the best teams to work with. I mean that. We work with them at our brands. They have more than paid for themselves in their software. So if you want to reduce tickets by like 30% or more, save on your SaaS bill, go into Black Friday without any chaos, give Richpanel a shot. Just go to richpanel.com/demo. And Amit, if you're listening, dude, that's just a terrible example of what you say to somebody when you meet them the first time. Oh, and Amit promised me there's actually a super special promo code. If you use Sorry Katie, Sorry Katy, you'll get 20% off your subscription. Give it a shot.
I wanted to talk about selling your business to private equity. Is it hard to sell a business that has your name on it? It's like your name's on the box.
It's true. I fought with that early on, but thank God I named it Buscemi and not John Buscemi. So in 50 years, it could be some other, someone could be like, "Hey, it's just some Buscemi guy,"
Yeah.
It's not like Tom Ford or Marc Jacobs or Ralph Lauren, right? That's one. But, I didn't sell my business to, take a check and like say, "Ha, gotcha." It wasn't like that. I know some guys that do that in business. Like they just kind of raise money, sell to private equity, take the money off the table, roll the dice, see what happens. I actually sold a minority stake to private equity because I thought my brand was going to 500 million in revenue, and they were going to help me get there. Like that's a real fact. So it was hard to get into the weeds a bit. I learned very quickly. I was entrepreneur my entire life. Then you go to a $40 million a year revenue business, never doing that in 30 months, 0 to 40 million in 30 months. Private equity comes in. They were great. Lion Capital, amazing partners. But they came in and said, hey, we need to take the CEO you had before, he's a friend of yours. He did a good job, but we need like the CEO to take us from 40 to 400. No problem. We need the CMO. I learned very quickly how corporate culture and building a culture and then changing that culture, how that can kill a brand very quickly. It's so important. And we had a CEO that came in that tried to change the culture. It was all about it was really like more about their opinion and kind of changing what Buscemi was culturally, not only in the world, but as a company. And that was a big wake up call for me. But I would do it again. I would definitely do that again. The private equity side was really great. They were very helpful. Obviously, the capital helped. But from a name standpoint, like I always say, at least it's not called John Buscemi.
John, let's talk about this point about like PE coming in and the changes they want to make, because actually it's I don't think it's something that we talk a lot about doing deals and getting deals done and what it's like to do a deal, but like this is the after the deal, right? What happens? And I've been around this world and I've experienced it in multiple times where, first of all, these private equity guys are great numbers guys. They're really smart and they understand like big picture, how to build a business and how to attack a market and they definitely know what a good business looks like, right?
For sure.
But then they come in and like every business has like its specific DNA and how it runs internally. Like I know how we run internally. I have a good sense for how Ridge runs internally. And from an outsider, it's like, oh, we need to get a professional CEO to really scale this business. Like, well, we need a CMO. We need a real CMO that really understands brand and this. And it's like, but it's so easy to think that change is doable or necessary, but it's actually really, really hard. You look at the DNA of your company and you're like, wow, how does these significant changes at the top level of management, like how's that going to fly? Because at the end, the company is the living organism of a lot of people getting done, and that's actually we early on when I first joined HexClad during the pandemic, we didn't know how big we were going to be. We knew we had a great business, but we didn't realize we were going to get to this. And we had a lot of conversations with PE. And there was one that we had a really good conversation with, and we kind of liked them, but they really wanted to make some big management changes, and we were just like, "That's going to screw it up." At least now, right? We were like, we know what we need to do for the next 2 years, and maybe we're not like expert in everything, but like we can figure it out, and the value of letting us figure it out is going to be better than bringing people in who are going to really change the culture, and really just like all of a sudden. What built the business, the people that built the business are like just like in a different place. And you have to be really careful to make sure that essentially the new team can do it, right? Like if you look at Apple and Scully versus Steve Jobs, and it's really interesting to me.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me that you guys went through that. And yeah, I wasn't expecting to hear that.
And also, you coming in are that too, right? And it could go either way. You obviously enhanced the business, so it could have went either way for us too.
I was friends with the founder.
Okay, yeah. So you already had a cultural link.
You had the link.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to talk about what Buscemi was doing was very unique in the world. No one was doing luxury streetwear at the time. Like for the audience, this was before Balenciaga had the $2,000 sneaker that looks like socks or whatever, right?
Exactly,
so this is like very, very early in luxury streetwear. And I don't think there's very few CEOs they could have hired who could have got that business to $400 million.
Well, it's funny that you said that. I had a guy work for me named Mike Amiri. He has a brand called Amiri now. He was my accessories designer. Do you know the Amiri brand?
Oh yeah, killing it.
Yeah. He worked for me. And, we shared a showroom together in Paris, and he had like some of our, we've shared a few customers, and now he's the $500 million a year fashion business because he kept it and didn't sell to private equity. I mean, I'm very happy for him. He's killed it, crushed it. But I think what happened to us was our CEO came in and she wanted to I call it Vincify us. So she wanted to do Buscemi attainable luxury when we were supposed to go the other way, like Chanel, make it more expensive, more expensive, more expensive. So it was like, do a diffusion brand, and that's going to work. And then that was the kiss of death, trying to think we could go this way instead of that way. And you could see most brands, Chanel, Hermes, these type of brands historically have raised prices instead of lowered prices, and instead of diffusing, they went to the mountaintop.
Dude, it's counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Everyone thinks lower prices, more units. I mean,
so
everyone
bad.
who listens knows I love James Purse, and James Purse has done the same thing. Just like make the shit as expensive as possible.
That's right.
Continue to protect margin. And going back to Jason's example, yeah, Jason, you guys were roughly $100 or $200 million, and you had those private equity conversations, and yeah, if they would have brought in new management, I don't think they would have built the biggest cookware company of all time, right? You guys are doing public company numbers now. They probably would have the whole thing up because it's just when you have unbeaten paths, it's like it's very hard to hire in leadership who knows what to do, right?
That's right.
It has to be so discovery first. So, cool, Jason. What other questions you got, man?
One of the things that I love about John is that he's so super connected, right? And like I feel this is a superpower that people are missing, that they don't build those networks and those relationships. So I wanted to talk about that skill, John, that you have, and then I also want to talk about Redan. Go into more detail on the strategy for your new business.
Oh, I just want to make sure for the audience that we hit on this trend forecasting idea again, because I think it's super interesting. But let's start with how do you know everybody?
I always say that I got lucky. The time I grew up and when I was born and my age and how my journey started in New York City and then came to California. Like New York, through skateboarding, I think that's where it starts, where you start to, as a skateboarder, it's very tribal. Like we talked before. So I was a 13-year-old skateboarder skating through Long Island, going to New York City, and you see another skateboarder, you're like, get over here. You're like my bro, it's like this brotherly thing. I think I learned I want to attach myself to like people that are doing the same things as me and stay in touch with them and have a relationship. I think that's where it started, through skateboarding, where it was like this tribe. And then, while you're in New York at those times, it's like you're going to an art show because the skateboarder friend of yours is also an artist. And then you're going to a movie premiere because the skateboarder friend of yours is now an actor. Oh, now your friend went pro and lives in California. I went to California, stayed in LA, when I'm like, this is like I'm not even 15 yet, 16 years old. And these art, music, fashion, people opening stores and the music business. And like, I think that was like the breeding ground for my like 5,000 phone numbers in my phone,
It's one thing to be directionally right about your margins and another to be precisely right. And that's the big difference between saying our margins are around 30%, 20%, and knowing it was 24.7% on Shopify and 28% on Amazon yesterday. Those few percentage points add up fast when you're doing 20, 50, 100 million in sales. That's exactly where Saras Pulse comes in. Saras gives you daily contribution margin reporting by channel, category, even down to each SKU, all pulled automatically from Shopify, your ERP, your 3PL, your ad platforms, everywhere. So instead of guessing or waiting weeks for finance to update your numbers, you wake up, you know exactly how profitable you were yesterday, and you make moves. Maybe Facebook was down 20% because of free shipping promos, but Amazon held strong at 35% that day. That's the kind of insight Saras gives you in real time. And contribution margin is one of the things that really matters. It's not just product cost, but it's everything, all the variability, shipping, pick and pack, packaging, returns. That's your true profit per order, per SKU. You should know that. With Saras Pulse, you spot leaks before they become losses. Keep cash flow visibility every day and show investors or partners exactly what's going on. For a $50 million business, even a 10% improvement in contribution margin means millions to your bottom line. And Saras helps you find that. We love it. I mean, there's every dashboard I look at running our business is coming out of Saras. So stop flying blind. Start operating with absolute financial clarity. If you don't have a Saras dashboard, if you don't have Saras Pulse, you're leaving money on the table. Check out Saras Pulse. That's SARAS. And see how daily precise data can transform your business's profitability. But you really it's amazing how you manage to cultivate that, because it takes work, right? And there are a lot of people with a very strong online persona. I feel like there's a lot of people but they don't get out and press the flesh. And
Right.
in our industry, there are a lot of events, and people, they definitely go to the events, but they sort of stay within the same grouping. All the same people go to all the same events. Sean has been really great about cultivating community with chat groups and showing up at events. But I think there's a next level that younger people, because John, we're around the same age, younger people, that it's very easy to be behind a screen.
Yeah.
And, but getting out there, and I've already seen it, John and I love golf, both love golf. I've seen the incredible connections I've made just getting out there and meeting people through golf. Because we have golf in common, we became friends really fast, right? And those commonalities. But I think that's a missing link that people have today. It's just getting out into different worlds and seeing them cross over with your world, as opposed to, Ecom Fuel and Commerce Roundtable and Beanstalk. And these are all great events where it's a lot of times that's the only place that people see each other. So I think broadening the horizon.
Yeah, I've always been I think I've always had this weird curiosity too, where that fuels some people, in my world would never go up to, someone and ask them a question or say, hey, can we have a call? Or me, I'm a little bit it's the audacity of my networking thing. It's I don't care. I want to talk to you. I'm going to approach you, text you, get in touch with you somehow. And that's a really great way to build, a whole network for your whole life. That's what I've been doing.
Well, dude, and don't ask, don't get, right?
Right. Yeah.
If people want to hang out, they have to ask. I've learned
closed mouths
up,
don't get fed, man.
Totally. But I want to go back to that idea of signaling. I think skateboarding, you could see someone physically skateboarding, you're like, oh, we have something in common. I think that's why golf also works. I think that's why the guys wear the Patagonia vests, so they can find other guys wearing Patagonia vests. What's hard in our industry is that when you're walking on the street, you don't know who's in e-commerce. The reason why we make the chat groups, the reason why we're so active online, we have the podcast, is because we want people to find each other and have that sense of community and talking, because it's a lonely job, you when you were grinding away, you had other CEOs to call because you had that network. So we're trying to find more ways to get that network out there.
It's what? It's you're ever at a party and you see maybe Gordon even does this, the guy with the chef coat on. You're that's obviously the chef's here. He's walking around with the white chef's coat on at the party. You're he's signaling to everyone. He's I'm the guy that cooked all this food for you. I'm not just wearing a black t-shirt. That's basically, that's how the world goes around for me. It's I'm always trying to signal either to make someone feel uncomfortable, or not in a bad way, but through fashion, that's why I made the sneaker. It's I made this sneaker to signal to everyone that this is the craziest thing that you could put on your foot. It's gold lock, bouncing off the back of it. That was a signal. Redan, which is my new brand, you have to be a member. You have to join the membership to have access to buy the clothing. I think that's I always just love the idea of that exclusivity through going to very exclusive places. It really started with, I don't know if anyone's been on I'm sure a lot of people have been on someone's yacht. And I love the culture in the yacht world where you could leave and they give you the hat and then the long sleeve t-shirt with like the yacht schematic on the back with the name of the yacht. Just always thought that was cool. Like that's like the ultra extra club. Like this woman named Claire, she's actually a yacht broker in Boca Raton, Florida. My friend Brendan and Ron Cohen and a few other people know her. And we went on there for lunch one day and she was like, you want a t-shirt and a hat? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And you come back to LA and I'm wearing this hat that says Claire on it in gold foil and a white hat. And people are like, what's Claire? I'm like, it's just a boat I went on, this woman owns. And then, it's just like, I love those like deep cut. Like I remember seeing Blackberry Farm hat for the first time, in Tennessee. And like, I wanted to start a deep cut brand, like for a long time, like where it's like, if you know, and that was the kind of the beginning of Redan. And then I said, I love golf. Let's do it in the golf. I could have done it could have just been a fashion brand. Right. But golf is it's the best sport. I don't know if you golf, Sean, but it's like, it's insane.
John's becoming a tennis guy now, which is good, which is a good alternative.
That's a very close second to golf. I think it's number 2.
I'm working my way to golf, but let's talk about the beauty of Redan. You are building a brand not for everybody, right? So you're very explicitly for that, off the jump. I think everybody, when they launch a brand, they want the biggest market ever. They're like, we're going to build the brand for everybody, right? Everybody can shop here. You're specifically being like, no, you have to be a member, right? So you're limiting access, and then you're making it a niche inside of that, right? You're not a fashion brand, you're a golf brand, right? So this is the brand you want to hold forever? Is that why you're doing that?
Yeah, I think so, yes. Yeah. I believe that, well, also Redan, not only is it well, let's talk about Redan. Redan is 4 pillars. So the first pillar is a clothing collection made in Italy, exclusive to the membership. You have to be a member to have access to it. Number 2, we do collaborations and double label projects with some of the most sought after brands in the world. From FootJoy, we're doing something with Tiffany, Bettinardi Putters. We're in talks with James Purse to actually do something, your favorite brand, and a few other really great brands, culturally relevant menswear brands around the world that we're talking with. Number 3, we have a concierge. So preferential tea times at some of the best courses on the globe. Signature events, city events, 1-day events, 2-day events, 3-day events that are curated by my team, whether it's Cabot Citrus Farms or Bandon Dunes to experiences in Scotland and experiences in New York. We've done one of the great trips we did this year. We did a 2-day, 2-night trip. We partnered with Casa Cipriani in New York, which is also a private club that I'm a part of, that we did a partnership with, where 8 guys came to New York. We stayed at Casa Cipriani. We took helicopters to due process in Jersey, played golf, came back, had dinner at Teresi in the private dining room in Little Italy. And the next day we took the ferry over to Bayonne, played golf, had lunch, and everyone went their separate ways. So it's like luxury apparel, luxury experiences, and things for golfers that have kind of, what do you get the golfer that has everything? It's a Redan membership. And the last pillar would be the community that we're building. We're at 275 members currently. We launched it in January, and we want to get to, 800, 1,000, and kind of and cap it and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I love the very defined scope off the rip, right? And you could see somebody doing this for tennis, for everything, right? Like just getting the elite yoga people together and like, hey, this is the next level version of this. It's for the people who live and breathe this, because that's where I think the culture is going. It's people who fall into these obsessions. Now, is Jason allowed to be a member?
Jason's a founding member. Proudly, I can say that.
Oh man! So any club he's in, I can't join, unfortunately.
That's okay, but he can take you to the member guest.
What's really, what I find really interesting about it is having, been around the golf world. I think everyone is flexing something in life, right? Like from the hat from the boat or whatever else. You're wearing it, you think it's cool, and it's like a little bit of a flex. And
Right.
I remember when I talked to our mutual friend Brendan about it, what you're doing with Redan, he pointed out that the flex now is you go play at a nice golf course and you buy a shirt or you buy a hat and you like wear that around and people talk, and maybe if you're a member of it, that's the massive flex, right?
That's massive, yeah.
This is like your takeoff on the flex, because the flex is like it. You're just like wearing some weird, colorful like golf shirt, and you kind of like once you go somewhere else, it looks kind of silly, Whereas,
Exactly.
So how do you're like, that's what I mean about like trendsetter. So you saw the trend about how people like to flex. Oh, I went and played at Due Process or Bandon or Shinnecock, whatever, and you're like, okay, we're gonna take that flex to a totally different level, right? We're gonna transform that flex. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. I think also where I've been, and not to sound arrogant, maybe for the sake of sounding arrogant, I feel like I built this brand for me, and I think there's I think the tribe of guys like us get bored very quickly, and we need to do things like this to kind of like hover above the noise, and we have our own little thing. And I also read a book. You guys should go on Amazon and buy this book called One-Upsmanship. It's a great little tiny book about like the culture. It's been around forever. I mean, women do it with handbags, guys do it with cars, watches, clothing. It's like, it's just a thing. And then someone wrote a book about it, which I think is hysterical, but I think they wrote it in the 80s or the 70s. It's like social currency, like, to the max, and I deal in that. I deal in scarcity, social currency, flexing, FOMO, one-upsmanship. Like this is where I shine in these moments, I think.
Yeah, well, and John, that's why the diffusion line of Buscemi didn't work. I remember it coming out and it was $300 sneakers.
Yeah, it was a sad moment for me, but I couldn't do anything, it was like,
yeah. Because you guys ended up dropping something below a common project, a price point, which was like, oh man, you guys had all the pricing power.
All right, folks, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Northbeam, the marketing attribution platform that every smart performance team should be using. Northbeam just dropped something game-changing. It's called Clicks plus Deterministic Views, the world's first deterministic view-through attribution model. Well, why does that matter? Well, because traditional one-day click attribution is completely skewed towards bottom-of-funnel campaigns. It's like giving all the credit to the player who makes the last shot and ignoring everyone who passed the ball to get there. You know the story. Your TikTok and CTV ads are building awareness, driving engagement, lifting overall revenue across every channel. But your dashboard says they're doing nothing. Meanwhile, Google Ads looks like a hero because that's where people click last. That's the click-only trap. And it's one of the biggest myths in performance marketing. It creates a vicious cycle where you cut top-of-funnel spend, your awareness dries up, and performance tanks. Northbeam's new model fixes that. Clicks plus deterministic views actually shows you which ad impressions drove conversions. Not guesses, not modeled correlations, verified data. They pull direct impression level data from Meta, TikTok, Snap, Pinterest, and CTV and match it deterministically using real identifiers, order IDs, hashed emails, logins, not cookies or fuzzy logic. It's precise, transparent, and built to close the gap between awareness and conversion. You'll finally see those mystery revenue spikes tied back to upper level funnel campaigns that actually deserve the credit. That's the Northbeam edge: clarity, accuracy, and confidence in your budget decisions. You'll know which channels are really moving the needle and which ones are just taking the credit. And yeah, the biggest brands are already using it: Manscaped, Dollar Shave Club, Hexclad, Grunz, and many more. So if you want to see what real deterministic view attribution looks like, go to northbeam.io/demo to book a demo and tell them that we sent you. Because if you're still flying blind on clicks only, you're missing the full picture.
Going back to this idea of monoculture and trend setting, right? Do you think there's ever going to be a place in the world for like a Vans again? Just like, Vans is everything to everybody, right?
Right.
They sell 1 billion pairs of shoes a year or whatever, right? Or a Gap, right? These are brands that like just became synonymous with like middle America. Do you think you could still build those today, or do you think it just
Like
it's
from
over?
scratch, like a new Vans?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, I've been involved in a few of these kind of startup footwear brands. I've done a few things. I think you can, but it's going to have to come through like a tribe, like Viore, if they come out with a footwear brand, right? Like they already have their, I think like it only come through now. When I thought before brands, I hated when big brands came out with like footwear collections. It was always like, I'm not going to wear that. It's like terrible. But then like Ame Leon Dore, I don't know if you know that brand from New York. Oh, that's the Ame collab. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So Ame, I think they broke the rule of that because the platform they've built of, I think it's the coolest brand, holistically the coolest brand in the world now. Like just from the media side, what they're doing, the price, the Porsche collabs, the North Face, like they've done such an amazing job of building that. But I think like a pure play sneaker brand like Van, I mean, On did it. I mean, yeah, I guess it could be done. I feel like On did it. They came out of nowhere. I remember I think I met the owner of On. He had like a bag of On in his, like a duffel bag walking around. Like he was the sales guy too. Now it's multiple billion-dollar valuation business, So maybe it can happen. It can happen.
They're worth $20 billion, but to your point,
is it 20?
Yeah, it's 20. They went through a cult, right? They were like, oh, we're a shoe for tennis people, and now they're for everybody, right? So like, I do think if you're going to build a mass market brand, it has to be for somebody to start. It has to be poignant, because On was just for people who played tennis, and then now every granddad is wearing them when they walk around.
Yeah. I think it's also like, I've called like the Brentwood mom effect, like Golden Goose. I remember like you get the Brentwood mom, you're good, You get the Henry. I feel like On's like a Henry brand. Totally. High earner, not rich yet brand.
Yeah. I think you nail on the head there, right?
I have a friend that's running Skylark for Justin Bieber. I feel like that was another time when I saw, you see when celebrities come out with brands, sometimes they're just like, I feel like if I know the behind the scenes of Skylark, they have like all the great things you need, like a great designer, like a super great designer, and an amazing like taste level team behind. And then you have Justin, the superpower, to supercharge it. I feel like there can be another Vans. I feel like maybe Federer helped On with that. I feel like there needs to be that like 50 million follower Instagram plus person involved in these brands now for it to like really, just because everyone's on the phone. You're on your phone, right? You're not like Ame did it because they did it brick by brick in New York City. And then now I got to believe they have a massive performance marketing budget now, like probably ridiculously big, right? But they built it like brick by brick. So they didn't have the person, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Kith is the same way. But dude, it's so interesting to hear you talk that like you can still build these giant brands, but it's just changed so much in 10 years. Because, maybe 15 years ago, it was getting POs in that Paris showroom. And now it's like, okay, build something niche for like the thing that you love, really care for it, become an expert in it, and then like have that, X factor, that superstar behind it.
You need the superstar, yeah.
And you can grow that out.
I also remember when I got lucky, Virgil Abloh, a couple of us, I launched Buscemi before the algorithm on Instagram, and I had 50,000 followers at the time before. So I was like, I put a picture up of my shoe. It was like 50,000 likes, 4,000 comments, and then shared. Earned media, I feel like doesn't exist anymore as much as it back in the day.
Yeah,
I earned all of that, it was like wild.
And like, it's so sad to tell new brands. It's like, look, wholesale's dead, earned media's dead, all that stuff, that playbook is just, it's gone. Now it's like, you have to be outlandish and you have to be for some specific person. That's why I love the idea of this exclusive club. All right. Jason's got a question, and then I'm going to end it with a question about where the future is going. So Jason, hit your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, and this might be kind of like a tough question out of the blue, but like you see how brands catch fire, right? Like On caught fire. It's just like there's this catch fire phenomenon. And I'm curious, like how much of it, there's got to be a significant amount of randomness, because there's randomness in everything. Like a few things happen and then boom, we sort of caught fire at a smaller scale than saying On. But like even like look at Birkenstock. So that's your world, right? Like you grew up around shoes. I actually look at it and it's just like, it's amazing to me, because when I was in college in the 90s, basically the deadheads were all wearing Birkenstock, and I'm like, oh, these are like not the people I want to. Yeah, I was not a deadhead guy. Like there were so many people at Arizona State where I went, like they were just nuts. It was like deadhead city everywhere. And now you look, even my
it's every 10 people,
my chief information officer, Jeff Faber, shout out Jeff, who has no style whatsoever, shows up to my place wearing freaking Birkenstocks now. It's like incredible.
But like brand new too, like crispy Birkenstocks.
Yeah. So I'm curious, can you comment on that and more generally?
Yeah. I think generally on Birkenstock or just in general.
I mean, generally about like catching fire, because everyone wants to have like that viral brand. Like everyone we talk to, it's like everyone wants that, right? Like, but it's like a 1 in a whatever billion, but like that whole like, do you have any thoughts about like how that happens?
I really do think it's like starts in these little micro communities of like, Sean said early, micro, I don't know exactly the terminology you said, but I feel like whether it's London or Japan or Tokyo or New York and something starts like, it's literally like kindling, I think I remember when Birkenstock, about 10 years ago, seeing some of the coolest people in the world that are like not even on Instagram. They're like, artists or brand owners that weren't very social at all wearing something. And I remember seeing like a black Birkenstock in Paris Fashion Week, like on one of the coolest people in the world. And I was like, that guy's wearing Birkenstocks. And then I was like, he got me. And then I feel like it really starts in these little, communities, the Hush Puppy, New York City on Lafayette Street. And you see like and then it's like, it goes to me and then I go, and then it's 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Like, it's really just that. I think what I'm trying to say is you can't even overthink it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as like just influence brick by brick by brick.
Dude, it's fashion's infectious, right? People want to be cool. They want to have the new stuff, right? That's why I think private member-only club makes a ton of sense. All right, John, I got 2 things. I want to plug a designer to you, okay? So there's a guy, Mega Yacht. He makes knockoff luxury merch, and I think it's hilarious. You should check out
Mega Yacht.
Mega Yacht.
What a great name, too.
Yeah, check him out on Instagram. Like he makes bootleg merch and it's awesome.
Like ironic, or like actually knocking off.
No, super ironic. Like
super ironic. Yeah,
he'll put like Bart Simpson wearing Gucci stuff on there, and like it's just, I think it is a good example of niche culture where I'm like, I think this is funny. I love fashion, and he obviously loves fashion, so you should check out Mega Yacht.
I love
and
that.
The second thing, for the whole audience, for the whole world. You were super early and correct about streetwear. You were super early and correct about action sports. You were super early and correct about luxury. And like everywhere luxury was going, where it was a combination of all those things, where is the trend the next 5 or 10 years? If you had to spend time and money, where are you spending time and money?
I'll make you guys a $5 bet. You'll see multiple members only fashion brands in the next 5 to 10 years. I think that's where it's going. I think I was just at Chez Margot in New York, and like then I'm like get invited to lunch at San Vicente Bungalow, and I'm like the past 4 days I have not been other than a private club in New York City, and they're growing like wildfire, just hospitality private. But I think brand side, I feel like you're going to see, I think the trend's going to go towards these kind of like little micro communities or like little private brands where that's the next level, even for, I think for, you'll see it on the females, the women's side as well. That's my trend forecast for the day.
I think you're totally right. I think people are sick of not having community. I mean, dude, Kith is opening up that members only paddleball club. You know what I mean?
No, I joined. Yeah, I'm a founding member.
Okay, well, you can get an Irwan smoothie in New York. One of the few people who can get that done.
I'm a big fan of the Kith Ivy. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, man, I think you're right, and you're not the guy to bet against. You've been right a lot with all of these trends. So, member only club, and we have the Radon plug. There's only 275 members right now. If you want to join, get in quick. Capped out at 1,000. So.
And you know, it's funny. It's a 100-year trend. Like, I was just talking to someone about the Lynx Club in New York City. It's got CB McDonald's, a famous golf architect. He designed Chicago Golf, National Golf Links in the Hamptons, and he started the Lynx Club because there was about 5 or 10 clubs that he couldn't join in New York City. Like back in like pre-war, like right after Great Depression, there was hundreds of these clubs. So I think it's coming. So that's my trend for the day.
Dude, it's a good plug.
Seems like it. Yeah, seems like it. John, thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, guys.
It's a pleasure. Good luck with Redan. Good luck with everything else. I'm sure people in our community will be hearing more from you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Legend in the flesh, man. Super
Thanks,
excited
Sean.
to talk to you.
You guys are great. Thanks, guys. Good morning. Have a good day. See you soon.
All right. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of this episode. Wherever you are in the world, it is awesome to have you here. If you do not already subscribe to this show, that is my one ask, is please go to whatever platform you are watching or listening to this on. It could be YouTube, it could be Spotify, Apple, I don't care. Just go hit the subscribe button. Please pump our egos up. It helps. And before we go, one more thank you to the sponsors, Fulfill, Postscript, Northbeam, Saras, and Richpanel. Awesome guys running these companies. We all use them. These are our vendors. That's the only reason they're sponsors of the show. So thanks again to those people.